Hey, and welcome back to my classroom. I'm glad you stuck around. I told you that writing an informative essay wouldn't be so bad. Well, now that we've wet our feet with the informative essay, we're going to move on to the next one, the persuasive essay. So the persuasive essay is different from the informative essay because you are now taking a stand on an issue, either for or against, and building the strongest possible argument that will win over your audience. So you know you have a good paper if it is effective in convincing your audience. Persuasive essays can be more difficult to write, but they are a lot more fun since your purpose is to get someone on your side. So why is knowing how to write a persuasive essay even important? Well, whether you notice it or not, you are constantly being bombarded with messages that are trying to convince you to buy something or think a certain way or vote for someone. The list goes on. Persuasive writing in particular is everywhere we look in advertising, newspapers, blogs, and political speeches. By knowing how to construct a persuasive and effective argument, we as readers are able to analyze more efficiently the ones we consume, as well as allow us to create our own arguments, making us more productive citizens, which is good in my book. Alright, now that we know the why of persuasive writing, let's look at the how. So before you begin, we need to choose a position. So just like we started our informative essays by choosing a topic, we'll start our persuasive essays by choosing an issue, usually a controversial one, and picking which side we want to argue for. Next, we need to understand our audience. How can you convince someone if you don't even know who you're trying to convince? It is important when writing a persuasive essay to know who you're writing for. It will make a world of a difference in how you shape your argument, whether you use pathos, logos, ethos, or all three. Now don't worry, we will learn what those mean later on, but they will be important in persuasive writing, so keep them in the back of your mind. And lastly, research. Once again, we will have to research our topics and issues for our persuasive essays. It is important to try to find the most convincing and reliable evidence that supports your side. And also make sure you research both sides of your argument so you're able to create more effective counter-arguments, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Now on to the structure of the essay. So before you go straight into your essay, it's important to introduce your argument and give some background information. Then your thesis statement will reveal your position or side that you're going to argue in the rest of your paper. Now, then you're going to include all of the evidence you've gathered in the body paragraphs or middle paragraphs. Remember to also describe and then counter-argue the opposing view of the other side. And this can be its own paragraph or kind of interspersed with the other arguments. And now in your conclusion, you should summarize your argument, but also make sure to leave your reader thinking about your argument, which is the goal of an effective persuasive essay. Now, some common mistakes that can creep up in persuasive essays. The first one is arguing for both sides. One of the biggest mistakes students will make when writing a persuasive essay is that they won't take a stance and try to argue both sides. Though this seems like you're being thorough, persuasive essays really call you to pick a side and stick to it. Otherwise, you come off as fickle and unsure of your opinions, which really just makes your paper weak and not very effective. The second mistake is not engaging your audience enough. Remember that your goal in persuasive writing is to get your reader to come to your side. If your evidence is weak or you're not passionate about your side, your reader will definitely notice. And even if you're not arguing the side that you personally agree with, it's okay to, as they say, fake it till you make it. So just like for the informative essays, I want you to come to class tomorrow with an issue that you would like to write persuasively on. Also bring in the arguments that accompany your issue, like the pros and cons. And I want you to bring at least 2 for each side, which means 4 in total. Alright, that's all for persuasive writing. Thanks for sticking with me, and see you guys tomorrow. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. Bye.
Created using Powtoon.